Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the 35th anniversary of Transformers the Movie Panel. We have some fantastic guests today. We got Flint Dille, who was the main writer of the movie. Vince DiCola, who composed the score. John Moschitta, fastest talking man in the world, also represented Blur and sped all the way through the movie. And Gregg Berger, the one and only King Grimlock. So,
hi guys.
Awesome. So, anyways, I guess getting started here. It's been 35 years. The movie is a cult classic. You got a lot of rabid fans out there. A lot of them are watching today. So, lots to talk about. We've got a few questions in from audience members. But me, kind of selfishly, I come from a little bit of a music background, and I kind of wanted to kick it off with the music side of things. Very honored to have Vince here. And Vince, I think your score was fantastic. I think that it's one of the key factors in making the movie so timeless. And yeah, I'd love to hear kind of how the procedure went, how you got in, how you ended up writing, and how you plugged all of your music in.
You know, I scored Rocky IV, and the producers of Transformers came to me because they enjoyed that score and they thought that kind of style would work for their movie. So sat down with the producers, Jay Bacall, and can't remember the other gentleman.
Probably Joe Bacall or Tom Griffin.
Tom Griffin, I think it was Tom. And we talked about...
They should call it Griffin Bacall. Oh, well.
Yeah. So, you know, they had me write a piece of music kind of as an audition, and that ended up being called Legacy, the piece of music. 6 minutes long. Didn't end up using any of it in the movie, but they wanted to see if I could, you know, get into that style and come up with something that accompanied their idea. So, and then the only thing they had me to work with at the time was storyboards, and that was difficult for me, even though I told them I had done it many times before. I'd never wrote the storyboards before that. And you know, looking back on it, when I saw the finished product, I wished I had picture to write to, because I would have changed some things. But you know what, it doesn't matter. The fans love it, and the movie lives on and the music lives on.
You know, it's incredible. I mean, I was just thinking about that. Joe said I had to say stuff. I realized that, I mean, if you want to like know what the 80s felt like, it is Stan's sound. It is the whole Transformer movie soundtrack, but it is Stan's soundtrack. I mean, I was watching one time at the Cinegrill. You know, I mean, every time I see it, you know, because I didn't see it from when we worked on it till like somewhere in the 2000s. You know, I think when I was doing the 25th anniversary or 20th anniversary disc, and one time we were watching it in the Cinegrill. You know, they had an event there, and I was watching. I realized, wow, I mean, this just totally takes. This is the 80s, and that kind of prog is probably my favorite guilty pleasure kind of music. So. But I just developed a whole new appreciation for it, because some reason at the time I didn't notice it. I don't know why I wasn't noticing much in those days, but no, that's an extraordinary piece of work.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, it really feels like, you know, from watching the movie probably a few hundred times, it feels like you had every piece just composed right to the script. So, however that worked out, man, it was great.
I had great music editors too. That was more than half of it.
So you kind of wrote the pieces and they swapped it around and moved it?
Yeah, I had a co-producer, same co-producer I used on Rocky IV. His name's Ed Frugier. So Ed got in there and worked with the music editor and, you know, tried to make all the cuts, because there was a lot of cuts from the time I wrote the music from the storyboards to when the movie was actually done. And Ed made sure that as many of those musical cuts were as musical as possible. And, you know, that was almost, in some cases, rewriting my music, the way he had to change sections around. But it ended up great.
Awesome. You've done a couple other things for Transformers since too, haven't you?
I have. Most notably, I would say Angry Birds Transformers, and I think that was in 2011. That was a lot of fun. And they hired us because my partner and I, Kenny, they hired us specifically because I had scored the movie, and they gave us free reign. You know, we basically just updated the sound a little bit, but, you know, kept the elements of the music from the movie in there. And we had a lot of fun with that.
That's awesome. And Rocky IV sold a couple units too, didn't it?
Couple, yeah. Multi-platinum. Great. I mean, I can't say that's all because of me, because there was songs in both of these movies, vocal songs, a lot of them in Rocky IV and a lot in Transformers. I kind of knew more about the songs ahead of time in Rocky IV because my manager was the music supervisor of the movie. So I would hear all the conversations about, we want to get James Brown. I have some great stories about that. We won't get into that now, but all the artists and all the egos and all the producers and songwriters, it was a mess. I'll tell you, it was a happy mess, but it was a mess. But with Transformers, I didn't know anything other than the song that I wrote, Dare, my friend Scott Shelley and I wrote, and Stan sang. But I had no idea because I was doing the score at lightning speed. You know, I had on Rocky IV, I had 3 months to do 37 minutes of music. On Transformers, I had 6 weeks to do 70 minutes of music. So
Wow.
It left me no time to, you know, check out all the other things that were going on musically in the movie. But, you know, somehow, you know, just like Rocky IV, it ended up all gelling just really nicely.
Hey, so Flint, you got to take note. He can do 70 minutes of music in 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's impressive. Yeah. Well, you do that every 3 weeks, right?
Don't ask me to do that again.
Yeah, well, it was the 80s. That's what I was trying to say. You know, you can do
Yep.
stuff then that you can't do now.
Yep.
So,
I mean, we had fun. We had fun.
Vince, I know you're a little bit pressed for time. There's a couple questions here from some fans I wanted to shoot at you.
Sure.
One of them was, what were your inspirations in creating the score for the movie?
The same inspiration I had for Rocky IV, which was the progressive rock from the 70s, a little bit of Toto, and, you know, for the big drum sound, there was the Phil Collins drum sound was coming into, you know, popularity. So yeah, it was like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you know, Yes, Genesis, and then, you know, going forward, Toto and all the West Coast rock bands that did some melodic rock. Yeah, that was my influence.
Awesome. And then you and Sam Bush have ended up working together again, at least once. I had someone ask how the Transformers theme you composed with them, how that came together. Was it a direct?
Are you talking? Which one are you referring to?
Let's see. It says, how did the intro song for the Transformers theme you composed with Sam Bush come about?
The theme, I think they're talking about the alternate theme. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it was Scotty Brothers or maybe the producers. I don't remember who asked for an alternate version because Lion had done the original version and everybody seemed to be happy with that. But somebody had the idea that, you know, have me rearrange the theme, bring Stan in to sing it. And I'm so glad we did that because, you know, it sounds great. It really does. And Stan sang sang the hell out of it. And I got a chance to do my thing, you know, and it really fits in with the score, but, you know, the Lion piece works too. So I honestly can't remember how it came about, but I'm glad it came about.
Awesome. So kind of wanted to shift over a little bit to the writing side with Flint and John and Gregg. You guys are going to get a lot of love towards the end here, so I appreciate you guys being.
Just quickly, I'm multitasking. I'm on a handheld phone. I'm trying to get back online right now. So if I look distracted, it's only because I am. but I'm listening.
No problem. And again, thank you guys for taking your time out to do this. This is pretty cool here. So Flint, there's a couple questions that popped up that I thought were kind of interesting. Were there any scenes that you had written or that you wanted to kind of include that never got really done?
Oh, by the way, I have my Rodimus Prime here. Joe drove this all the way over from Corona, so I got to plug Joe with Rodimus Prime here.
Right.
I got him. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there was a whole draft of a script that got pretty much thrown away. But I've talked about that a lot. Yeah. Anything. I mean, we did God knows how many drafts of the script. And it wasn't like we threw everything out and started over. But I mean, there was one summer I was in New York for I don't know, like 5-6 weeks, and all I was doing was we'd get notes, we'd change stuff, we'd go do it, and then go out to lunch and come back. And it was the 80s, he did a lot of lunch, so yeah, there were like numerous drafts, so there were a lot of scenes, but probably it all ended up for the best. And a lot, it was a moving platform. Characters were coming in and out of the product lineup, and where we had to kill all this stuff off, kill off half the product line and all that. I mean, and what's cool about it is you simultaneously, this could be your whole life for a while, but there's a ton of stuff that, like I mean, I saw all the voice guys because we recorded, that stuff. But, like I didn't meet, Vince till, I don't know what, 30 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way that works, but whereas Gregg and John, we were the fans, they always ask a lot of questions about what the voice sessions are like. That's kind of one of the more entertaining things to talk about. But yes, there were the script went through about 500 different drafts. Yeah, I think that would be safe and honest to say. Cool. And I remember it's all an incredible blur. A lot of the purpose of Five Faces of Darkness originally was to use just stuff that didn't make it into the movie, but I ended up doing it all new. But nevertheless, it was sort of the spirit of stuff that it was. In my mind, it's of a piece with the movie.
Awesome. And I know you've been asked this, but there were like 2 or 3 people, and I think you mentioned it at TFCon a year ago, and they want you to finally, I guess, put the pin in it again. Is who became Cyclonus? Was it Bombshell or was it?
Oh man, I'm saying Skywarp. Okay, but since I've already answered that question, I'm just going to throw it up in the air and say it's Thundercracker. Or it was Starscream, came back as a ghost, but he wasn't dead yet. I'm gonna just start making up bad answers. Yeah. And actually, that is not in the book. Yeah, no, I think I'm going with Skywarp.
Cool.
But I'll switch to Blitzwing if you want me to. I mean, it's
that I see that pop up, like it feels like every other day on the message boards, and it's kind of funny. So.
Yeah, I thought I'd driven the stake into that one, but so I'm just gonna start changing my answer.
Yeah. So
obviously nobody liked the other answer.
Also, I kind of so I've read it. I don't know if any of you guys have read it, but you have a book that's out that, oh my God, I plowed through the thing quickly.
Yeah, it's timeless and unforgettable. It's called The Games Master. It's really about that whole period. It's not because I think I'm a games master, but I crowdsourced a title, and the people on my Facebook page thought that that was a G.I. Joe episode I wrote. So that's the title. But yeah, it's about the whole period of all the Sunbow stuff. I tried to basically, I started writing it from questions people had asked me multiple times in interviews, and so I tried to answer everything I could so I wouldn't have to talk about it ever again. But here we are.
So. And then something that we were, I guess, kind of a cool thing is Gregg, are you in the room right now?
I'm in the room. I'm about to go video on my computer finally. Hold on. Yes, I'm here. Are you hearing me?
We can hear you. So
You can have me in a second.
Okay, we'll give it a couple minutes. We'll talk with Flint a little bit more. So I've got kind of questions and notes all over the place here.
What should we talk about that we've never talked about before? We had to do that. Is there anything we've never talked about before? What's a whole brand new topic? I'm just always trying to think of something, because so that way you can say, "Oh, you have to listen to Joe's podcast to get this unique story that you never hear anywhere else."
Oh.
Okay, we can talk about stuff we talked about before.
You're asking the hard. I think if everyone's already asked the questions, so, but yeah, like you said, everyone I think always loves the kind of the vocal recordings and the Wally Burr stories. Were you pretty involved with the Wally Burr stories, with the voice recording sessions, Flint?
Me? Oh yeah. I mean, that was part of my job, because I was at various different times. I mean, I started out as story editor, and then I went to being an associate producer, and then finally a co-producer. And so I was there, I'd say, most of the time, unless I had something really, compelling I had to do, I was there. Oh, you know what I want to ask your fans that are out there? All right, this is an important question. I can't, and anybody else on this call can answer it. What unfinished business is there with the movie that, scenes that didn't get in there? That's what I really want to know. Things that, weren't explained, you wondered about, stuff like that. If anybody thinks of that stuff, that would be very helpful, but I can't tell you why.
Well, could we give a little nudge why?
What?
We can maybe give a little nudge why.
A little what?
A little nudge, a little teaser as to why, maybe?
I don't know. I signed an NDA, so yeah, I mean, I can't control you, but I'm not saying anything.
Well, I did get permission. Just to the people that are on this page right now.
I don't know anything about what he's talking about, by the way.
Never heard of it.
So,
yeah.
There is a project that's coming out. All we can say is there is a project that's going to be started here soon with the people in the room here that are going to be included. Can't say anything more than that, but it
would be helpful if you can think of things, unfinished business from the movie. It would be really helpful. I want just cool stuff that you didn't get to see either because it wasn't in there. I mean, it could be a plot hole, or it can be just like, I really would have liked to see the Shrek Bats of Dromedon or something. I think that was a Grimlock line there.
And if there's anyone from Icon out there, we don't see the chat thread, but if maybe you guys can screen capture some of the responses coming up, that would be really cool if you could send them over to me and Flint later on.
Yeah, this is serious research question here.
So cool. So I guess moving over into the voice guys a bit. John, Gregg, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So John, we met the other day and we were blown away. You still got the chops. So
Can't help it. Once you got it, you can't get. Once you get blurred, you can't get them out. You posted a picture of us up front. You had brought me my Transformer blur, and everybody jumped on me because I had him upside down in the picture. I didn't even notice it, and now everybody's saying he got the picture upside down. I love the fact the picture's upside down. I'm like, well, what's so crazy about the picture being upside down? So here's one. Take a shot. The picture's right side up.
Wait, I got a fan geek question for John. I gotta go in a while, so I'll stop interrupting. But when in your life did you find out I can talk faster than anybody? I mean, you're literally in the Guinness Book of World Records as the fastest talking person in the world. You're not even a used car salesman now. Yeah, I mean, how did you find that out? I mean, were you at 5 doing that, or how did you find that out?
Well, actually, when I was 12 years old, growing up on Long Island, there was a cerebral palsy fair a few blocks away from my house, and they announced that they would donate $2,000 to cerebral palsy for anyone that broke Guinness record. So first I wanted to ride the roller coaster at Coney Island. So I called Coney Island. They said, hey, kid, take a hike. You are 12 years old, and you're not going to let you strap yourself into the cycle for 2 weeks straight. So I went home and I started flipping through the book and decided I wasn't going to eat a car, swallow the pipe. So the next best thing was to lock myself in a room and teach myself how to do the fast talking. I also had 5 sisters, so to get a word in edgewise was a little bit of self-defense.
Bravo.
Excellent.
That was awesome.
I can't even think that fast, but sometime tomorrow I'll know what you just said.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Awesome. And then now we got probably one of the least fast talkers with in Transformers.
But me no kisser.
Gregg Berger talking. Oh, sorry.
That's right. By the second cup of coffee in the morning, I'm almost up to neutral. And look what I got. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Nice.
Dude,
And I apologize. I had such massive technical difficulties. I can't even explain it, but take my word for it. I've been struggling to join you all through the whole process, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
But me still no kisser.
Great congratulations. Last year you were Transformers Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's an illustrious group, and I'm so proud and humbled to be inducted into it. It happened online during PulseCon. It was, for me, an incredibly fulfilling, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful honor that I take so seriously, I can't even tell you. But it's an illustrious group, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. Very, very proud.
Is there any list somewhere of the studios that did episodes? Hold on, I just got a little message here. Is there any list somewhere of the studios that did episodes? Some of them changed drastically, and there isn't a lot of information on the internet. Okay. Oh, we're gonna.
You mean
we
that
got
did
a question
episodes?
pop up. I guess were there different studios that animated the episodes?
That would be an animator question. All my work was Wally Burr South, Wally Burr North.
So.
Oh, you could actually answer a question I could not remember when I was doing the book, and that was, where was the first Wally Burr on Ventura Boulevard?
No, it was on Hollywood Way. The second Wally Burr was just north of the original. And we were all while we're there. I can't help but remember.
I remember that weird building. It's kind of a fake Tudor building.
I know what you're talking about. Yes, in Studio City on Ventura Boulevard. Wow, you're right. It goes back to that. That was the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I thought it was. I was misremembering, but yeah, I'm glad you reassured me.
No, that was before they changed the water. Chuck McCann at panels used to say, I started in radio with the Marconi brothers.
Speaking of not changing stuff, I was in Wally Burr's studio in the 2000s. I think we were doing a video game. It was like Scalar, or maybe it was Mission Impossible Test. I can't remember what. But anyway, I was in the studio and he still had the same stuff on the wall from when we were there. And I'm sitting there looking at that looking My Little Pony poster.
I totally
and then
believe
the
that.
Joe and Transformers show posters. They were still up on the wall.
Flint was talking before about first meetings, and Flint, who's an imposing character, not only physically, but just his presence in general. I met him first through the studio glass, which is thick safety glass for a reason. But because the writers were so everything was a creative nightmare and a creative tornado, and ultimately you can tell from the longevity a creative success. But I remember this big guy with arms flailing, and I thought, I'm so fired. Every actor takes it personally. Whenever you see anything animated happening on the other side of the glass, you assume you've done something wrong.
No, that was them yelling at me because I kept changing stuff.
See, not from my point of view.
Yeah,
I made it about me.
Oh yeah, no, it probably was. I mean, we were routinely trying to get you fired, and I had something on Wally. It was never clear what. There was speculation, but and he kept bringing it back. I never knew why that was.
One of the great mysteries of the universe.
I hate to
However,
interrupt.
they were golden times, and if Scatman brought his ukulele, they would break for writers' meetings. Obviously, they were making changes, and we would adjourn to the green room or the outdoor patio. And if Scatman brought his ukulele, nobody ever wanted to go back into the studio. That's how good it was. While we're there, because the sessions were long and difficult, not like being on a road crew with a jackhammer over your shoulder, but taxing in terms of time and effort and energy. And because there were so many breaks through the course of any given session, I formed friendships that I'll have for the rest of my life. It wasn't just a job, as we're all finding out over decades from each other, but this launched careers that have lasted lifetimes, and I still see the same people on the same regular routes. And you always go back to your origin story. Everybody got off the bus at some point and had to introduce themselves to an industry that didn't know they existed. Well, we were all in our own ways successful at doing that, and here we are still seeing each other 3+ decades later. It absolutely blows my mind in the best possible way.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. So was there any difference, I guess, from doing the normal Wally Burr TV shows to doing the movie with you guys?
I'd say that's a writer question, because a bigger screen requires a bigger story, and I think everything about that adventure inflated for the big screen. But Flint is better prepared to answer that, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, what was weird was, it was like some of the same cast people and some different people and all that, and that was kind of like strangely disorienting to me. But I don't think so. I mean, it was the same Wally Burr, and I mean, I don't care if you're Orson Welles. When you walked in Wally Burr's office, it's a great equalizer. I mean, you can have no pretensions when you're sitting in that crappy place. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, but it's a little bit true. A little bit. I don't know. John ought to chime in on this. I mean, did I miss the aesthetic charm of the Wally Burr Studios?
Oh, you did not miss the aesthetic charm. That is for sure. It was what it was, and I did love that My Little Pony poster. That's all I can say.
I just remember it was just this weird flashback of, it's like, this is like well into the 2000s, and I'm saying, and I'm talking to Wally, and it's like, I mean, it's possible it was the 90s or late 90s, but it was a long time after we were doing it. I said, well, you ever like done anything with your wall? I mean, is the candy the same as the stuff, you had back in 86 or, that's pretty funny.
I've recorded in studios that had motel mattresses on the walls as buffering for sound, but great stuff came out. It's all about the work. But I was told that was one of Frank Zappa's studios of choice, because it was just so funkified inside.
Cool.
So you never know.
I totally believe
so Wally
that.
Burr's had its own charm.
Oh,
He was a tank commander in World War II, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
So yeah, I guess that. So I met him once, had some conversation with him, and oh man, he was a fascinating guy. So I couldn't imagine working under him. So.
Oh no, he was great. I mean, he was. I mean, the thing I'd say with Wally, I think you guys would agree with this. I mean, he like really, was incredibly well prepared. I mean, I was always kind of shocked when because very rarely gave anybody line reads, but sometimes I'd write some really, complicated line that I couldn't even understand, and he'd be like telling people what the sense of the line was, and I remember thinking, God, if I could have written it that clearly, I would have like written it the way he said it, not the way I did it. He was incredibly hardworking, prepared guy.
I think a lot of the people in the industry who are perceived as being quote unquote difficult, but only if you're resistant to what they have to offer, you find out that what they really are is extreme. They care so much about the project that he knew the Bible forwards, backwards. He knew how everything interacted with everything. And then I'll go back to just the longevity of the product, and that there's new audiences discovering G1. It's fantastic. And whatever, like when something works as well and as long as this has, you have to give credit to every aspect of that. And he was at the helm like a tank commander, but he got his vision fulfilled, and look at the result.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. Vince, I think I've kept you here a little bit too long. I know you said that you were right in the middle of a project. Thank you for taking some time to spend with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, if you need to bounce out, man, we totally understand. And
Unfortunately, I do. I wish I didn't have to, but got to get back to recording here. We have a kind of a deadline we're working under. So
Can you tell us what you're working on before you go? Or
I wish I could. It's a video game, but I can't say too much. I can't say anything about it.
Let me throw one thing in before you leave.
Okay.
You mentioned all the people that work was derivative of, but look at how many people are derivative of Vince DiCola. You hit it out of the park every time you touch that keyboard.
Thank you for saying that, Greg. I appreciate it.
I'm always happy to see you.
You know what? We got us. We can't get rid of each other. See, and I love that. I love seeing you guys, and I think we're going to see a lot of each other here in the next period of time. So I really had a great time being here. Thanks, Joe, for putting it all together, and I hope to see everybody soon.
Sounds good.
Great seeing you, man.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Vince.
Bye.
So, we got a couple little questions here if anyone wants to jump on them. Let's see. Flint, this might be a blind throw of a dart at the dartboard. How did the Decepticons, all battling inside Astro Train, finally come to the consensus to let Starscream be the leader?
Well, yeah, because we like Starscream. I mean, the writer answer is, every time Starscream was on the screen, it was entertaining. So we would throw stuff at Starscream, and it's what it really is it's like Starscream been plotting against Megatron for God knows how many episodes at that point, and at some point or another, you just got to see what would happen if he actually got to be the leader, right? I mean, it's kind of like sooner or later you got to see Roadrunner get eaten by a Wile E. Coyote, or it's you're gonna feel just unresolved in life.
Did you guys have plans on bringing him back as a ghost when you offed him?
Well, I really didn't like the idea of offing him in the first place, and it's I always thought of I mean it's I always figured these are cartoon characters, you kill them and they come back, I mean they always did when I was a kid, and we definitely wanted it back. He was a really important character. What we didn't know at the time was, because we were very much product driven, is the truth. I mean, we didn't sit around and say, hey, I've got a sensitive artistic instinct that we ought to kill Starscream or Optimus. It didn't work that way. We would get something, a fax from Hasbro that said, oh, we discontinued Ashtray, and we're inserting Dumpster Fire into that, and Trainwreck's now out, and Snafus and so we were used to putting characters in and out, just based on what the product cycles were. So I was very happy. But what we didn't know was the people that original set of characters, some of them were here at this moment, would be the definitive characters, and past a point nobody wanted to not nobody wanted to see new ones. That's not putting it right, but people wanted to see those characters.
So
if you're having readings for either Ashtray or Dumpster Fire,
Well, I had train wreck in mind for you, but I mean, yeah. No, I was thinking, like, wouldn't you love to see a line of Transformers that was like just all this like broken, messed up, stuff.
Oh God.
We got 10 cities coming in. We got a lot of new characters.
Getting lots of requests to hear John and Gregg as Blurr and Grimlock. I know you guys have done a little bit. You guys feel comfortable doing a little improvisation?
Me no nice dino. Me king. Me no kisser.
Decepticons above me, Decepticons below me. Every place I see Decepticons. I've been on stupid missions, but the stupidest mission I've ever been on.
Man. So,
The voice, if you treat it with respect, is one of those resources that can serve you well for many, many decades. I early on, I did a episode of what they were calling then the New Jetsons at Hanna-Barbera, and I saw Dawes Butler enter with difficulty, and Mel was no youngster. They seated me next to Mel Blanc, but man, when that tape rolls, everybody, Elroy is Elroy, and Mr. Spacely is Mr. Spacely. It's one of those resources that deserves respect and care and feeding, because it can take care of you for a lifetime. I'm here to tell you. But I watched Mel Blanc wake up as Mr. Spacely. He went from a deep snore to Jetson.
No, I mean, okay, there's something nobody ever talks about, and that is that voices do last shockingly well. I mean, you guys sound exactly like you did, then. And who was it? It was somebody. It was one of the dinners we were doing, and somebody was talking about, they called him up. They wanted him to reprise a role, and he said, I don't talk like that anymore, and all that. And then I think it was Neil Ross. I'm just making that up, but it was somebody like that. And he was putting him on, like his voice had completely changed and all that. And you realize voices really don't change. Or I guess maybe if you guys are pros and your voices don't change, but it's a fascinating thing.
It's not unlike a musician. You have to continue to practice, and you have
exactly.
And you have to not blow it out when it's not necessary. You got to treat
right,
it
but so you do special things to make your voice not change. That's a question disguised as a statement.
If
I don't do anything. I don't think I do anything
go,
special.
John.
Just use it.
What?
Sorry, what did you say, John?
As long as you keep using it and doing different things with it, you keep it. It's I mean, my problem is I can't ever shut up. So my voice is very strong.
My voice is stronger for having been cast as Grimlock. When it originally was offered, Wally said, Hasbro loves you for Grimlock. Are you going to be able to maintain and sustain that tonsil buster? And I said, put me in, coach. I'll learn as I go. And I did. And my voice is stronger for having learned how to make it work for me. And that's a big tonsil bust. When I would leave the studio, I would say, can I stop by my side of the studio glass and pick up my tonsils? I think I left them there.
Well, that was the kind of thing that was easy to forget, because I mean, these guys were all so good and all so pro that you forget that like real people can't do that stuff, and you forget that they actually do have vocal cords like real people have, and you can blow them out and all that, and you just like I remember sometimes. I remember one time with Frank Welker, we were doing Insecticons, and I was so amazed by the stuff he was doing with his voice that I was saying, well, can you put a little more robot in there? A little higher insect or robot, because he'd have like an insect or a robot, he's just like this, and and all of a sudden, then I realized I'm really abusing this poor guy, but it's simply because it's just such an extraordinary talent.
So,
Yep.
Awesome. John, we're getting some pings in for you too. Let me see. Were you excited to return to playing Blurr and Transformers Animated? What was different about that performance versus G1?
I don't know that there was really all that much difference. And yes, I was very excited. I'm always excited when there's a job that comes in. I am a little bit of a media whore and just love keeping busy. So anytime someone wants to use it, and I had such a pleasant experience on the first round that coming back for the second was good. On the second one, they Transformers Animated, they gave me a bunch of bigger speeches. So that was fun because he gets to really go on a rant a couple of times.
That's cool. And are you just reading right off the script, or you got to practice it a few times?
No, I didn't even get the script until I showed up, and they just hand you the script. You go in and you do it.
Man, wow. And you don't get tongue twisted?
Not too often. I mean, there are days things don't want to come out the way they're supposed to come out, but usually I manage to pull it off.
Cool. Is there any projects that you're working on now?
Well, everything has been kind of slow for the time being. There's a couple of irons in the fire, but nothing has gotten start dates yet. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Yeah, we loved you as Micro Machine guy back in the day. I mean, you were killing the airwaves of Transformers and Micro Machines.
The Micro Machines was a great contract. I love that. We did 125 commercials in 37 countries. So it was excellent. I was very sorry when that went bye-bye. But the Micro Machine Man still, when I do some of these bot cons and stuff, half the people that come up for the Micro Machine Man, and it's not unusual for someone to come up and go to me, say it, and what they mean is they want me to go, remember, if it doesn't say Micro Machines, it's not the real thing. People just love that line. So
yeah, that was I remember coming home from school, man. It was we got the double dose of you every afternoon, Monday through Friday. It was fantastic. So,
yeah, no, I was very lucky. I had Federal Express for people who were watch football. I had Minute Rice for the people who were home during the day, doing laundry, and they would see me on all the soap operas. And then the kids would come home and they'd have Saved by the Bell and Transformers and Micro Machines commercials. So, and then the little babies, I was on Sesame Street. So we had all the ages covered.
That's cool. And Gregg, you were another really big character too, that you've been pretty much the only guy to do them. Is that right?
To do which?
Odie?
Oh, I thought you were still on Transformers and G.I. Joe and that ilk. But yes, I'm the only, aside from one feature film where Odie was a real live dog, I'm the only animated Odie, also in many countries. And the funny thing about Garfield is that's a buddy comedy. It's just one of the two buddies barks and slurps and emotes. So.
Any new projects with that in the last few years?
You know what? Pandemic kind of started a global pause, but there are still some things that I can't talk about. I was in the middle of a play in Los Angeles at the time pandemic hit, and obviously you don't want to be in front of an audience full of people in March of 2020, nor did they want to be in front of us. So that I always like to be if I can, I like to be in a play, in a radio venture, in something on camera, whatever. I like to be in as many aspects of a career as I can be at the same time. But plays keep your brain working, and it was a very good play. World premiere of a play called Mistakes Were Made by Jerry Mayer, who was and is a very prolific TV comedy writer, about three retiring TV comedy writers. Anyway, it was completely enjoyable. We ran for over a year, and then came pandemic. So, we've all watched the gears grind slow to a halt, and gradually it'll be wonderful to put it in the rearview mirror and watch things as they start to accelerate.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more. Doing plays that's my favorite thing. I love being the theater because you start and you have to do it. There's
Curtain
no
goes
stopping,
up, you
there's
tell
no
a story, they like the story, they don't like the story, but it's live, and everything is
no
immediate.
retakes.
You gotta work through it. Yeah, no, it's amazing, and it keeps your brain so together because you have to be so present to get from the curtain up to curtain down. So
Correct.
I'm always happy when I'm doing theater.
But John, you could probably do 3 acts in about a minute and a half, right?
Yeah, I go, I'm Hamlet, to be that discussion with the myself, sing around, I'm just working comes to see trouble by holding in the night, sleep no more, by sleep, we're out of that, just to come to make you do that, devoutly to be wished.
We have to slow the
Well, I
tape
had
just to hear what you say.
10 minutes, I did Gone with the Wind in a minute, Moby Dick in a minute, 10 books in a minute, so a minute each, so it was that was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Oh, awesome. Let's see. So Flint, I know this pandemic, it's been obviously kind of really pulling everybody down. It's really slowed things down, but is there anything that you've been working on the last year or so that you like to talk about a little bit?
No, I'll talk about stuff when it's real. I hate talking about stuff when it's not real. But yeah, there are various things. If you're reading the trades, which is what you're referring to, there are things being reported. But I mean, that's one of those things where I'll be talking about it when I'll invite you guys to the premiere. If this really happens, we're there.
Cool.
Awesome. And curious as to how we are doing on time. If I can look at my invisible girl there on the screen. Got about 5 more minutes left. Awesome. So is there anything you guys would like to add? I guess it's the 35th anniversary panel. Any closing comments, any thoughts, let's leave it up to you guys.
I started to touch on some stuff, but I've just got this head full of fantastic memories of just the experience and the people and the initial casting dilemma and the fact that so many of us launched careers, not just jobs, again, speaks to Wally and the whole production team, because they really they hit it out of the park. They created an ongoing tale that was character driven. Not effects driven, character driven. And as an acting teacher, if you care about the characters, you care about what happens to them. That's always the approach that finds an audience and keeps an audience. But yeah, I remember the day in Wally Burr North when we all kind of got Venetian blind marks on our foreheads because we were watching Orson Welles arrive to do Unicron. And that was my life, sitting next to Mel Blanc at the Jetsons. These are things that happen in my life, and I value them. And I'm really thankful for the opportunities that have allowed me to fulfill a lot of childhood dreams. Because I was the kid like this watching Bugs Bunny and Daffy and all my guys. And when people come to conventions and come to my table and have little kids and the little kids look up and say, "You sound just like him," I say, "Well, I am him. I mean, I that's what I do." But I have a great deal of joy from all of this. And those of you who are watching this panel are in the presence of some really terrific people.
Mm.
Yeah, there is a real quality of, like, intellectually we all knew, yeah, this happened and everything we're talking about happened. But there's a part of me, especially when I was working on the book, when I was like, wow, I mean, this stuff really, not everybody got to drive to Wally Burr North or South, or the one on Ventura Boulevard that we forgot about. And I actually had a job where what I did was show up and figure out, whether dumpster fire sounded right, or, or trying to, what I mean? I mean, you think about just how extraordinary that is. I mean, that it really happened, because I think a lot of people, and I mean, it's easy for us to get jaded, but a lot of people in the real world don't believe that you really can do stuff like that, for a job. And I think, and so to some extent, it really does happen, and it really can happen. And for anybody out there, chasing it around, the lesson is it does. And when it happens, it really happens fast. That's what I would say. But there is a kind of unreality to the fact that we really did do all this stuff. You know what I mean?
No, we've all been very lucky. to live the lives that we have. It's really been great. And if you say to people, what do you do for a living? Well, I go to work and talk about my struts melting. They're like, what? But unfortunately on G1, I was busy a lot and I missed a lot of the group sessions. But I really cherish the couple that I did manage to be at, because that cast was so fantastic, and the whole experience was just amazing. And it's probably one of the most positive experiences I've had in 40 years being in the show business. So it really was fantastic. And the fact that it has lasted so many years, and that people come up to me all the time and tell you what you meant to them is just it's crazy, because we were just kind of having fun.
Well, I remember they were telling us, "Oh, hey, the FedEx guy's coming in. He's doing a voice." And I said, "You mean somebody actually talks like that? I thought they just sped him up." And he said, "No, he really talks like that." It's like, no way. And sure enough, it's like, all right. I didn't know anybody could do that.
I'm surprised that you haven't been used in brain chemistry testing. You got something going on in there, pal.
Actually, years ago, AT&T and Bell Laboratories in New Jersey wanted to hook electrodes up to my head to see why, as they word it, my speech machinery did not malfunction, because the average person could speak 9 to 11 words fast before their brain would fry, and they didn't know why I could keep doing it. And back then, it was just the regular telephones, and they were expensive, and they wanted to keep people on the phone as long as possible. So they wanted to make sure that they could foil any way people knew how to talk fast, because they wanted them staying on the phone longer.
No.
But I never.
They wanted to make sure you were an anomaly.
Wait, so Bell Labs was trying to figure out
not something that
how to make people
learn,
stay on
they
the
had
phone
to
longer.
talk slow.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. Well, guys, I really appreciate your time. Thanks to Iacon for giving us the time here, and all you guys that have tuned in, really appreciate it. So, this is I think this is the beginning to something else, and maybe there will be something, instead of talking about some 35 years old, we might have something new to talk about here soon.
Yeah, but only if people remember things that didn't make it into the movie that they want to see there.
That's right. You got to get that info to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's call the whole thing lunch.
I like using audiences, for free consultation and all that. So there we go.
This is a family like no other.
They got to keep you going. Feed the machine.
So awesome. All right. Well, thanks, guys. And I think are we still on, or are we getting the?
Thank you for having.
Bye.
Cool.
You
Thank you.
guys have to do it in character. Okay. All right. Bye. Bye.